feel victorious, just sad. You didn't leave me because I was broken, I said. You left because I wasn't broken enough to wait for. She opened her mouth to argue and then closed it. I paid for the coffee, said goodbye. I never looked back. It's been 3 years since she walked out. I run a consulting firm now. I hire people like the man I used to be. Desperate, quiet, full of fire. I pay them well. I listen when they say they're struggling. And last year I met someone. She worked in data analytics too. Brilliant, humble, driven. Not by status, but purpose. We started out as colleagues, then partners on a project, then more. She saw the real me, not the scars, not the title, just me. We got married last spring, simple ceremony, just a few close friends. No show, no flash, just peace. Remember this, the ones who leave don't break you. They just reveal what you're capable of without them. Sometimes rock bottom is the foundation you needed all along. And love, the real kind, meets you where you are and grows with you.
Max was a golden retriever with fur like spun sunshine. He was Emily Carter's best friend. They played fetch in the park and they cuddled on the couch. Max loved Emily's family very much, and oh, he loved car rides and belly rubs. Max was happiest when he was with his family. Emily's dad, John, often patted Max's head and called him, "Good boy." Her mom, Sarah, loved brushing his soft fur. Max was part of their family. He brought them so much joy. He was a good dog. One summer, the Carters decided to go camping. They packed their tent, sleeping bags, and food. Of course, Max was going too. He loved exploring the woods with his family. Emily was excited to share her favorite camping spot with Max. She just knew he would love it there. The first day at the campsite was perfect. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the air smelled like pine needles. Max chased squirrels and splashed in the lake. Emily threw sticks for him, and Max brought them back with a wagging tail. As the sun began to set, the wind picked up. The sky turned an angry gray. Soon, a fierce thunderstorm rolled in. Thunder boomed, and lightning flashed across the sky. Scared by the storm, Max broke free from his leash and ran into the woods. Emily screamed for Max, but he was gone. Rain poured down. John and Sarah searched for Max, but they couldn't find him. Emily cried herself to sleep that night, hoping for Max's safe return. The storm had frightened them all. They missed their furry friend terribly. Max was lost and alone. He wandered through the woods for days, scared and hungry. The sounds of the forest were unfamiliar and frightening. He missed Emily's gentle touch and the sound of her laughter. He missed the warmth of his dog bed and the taste of his food. Sometimes Max would find scraps of food left behind by other campers. Other times he would catch a small animal to eat. He slept under bushes and in hollow logs. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Still, Max never gave up hope. He missed his family, and he kept searching for them. Back home, the Carters were heartbroken. They searched for Max everywhere. They put up posters with his picture. They asked park rangers and other campers if they had seen him. Emily wrote a letter to Max, begging him to come home. They all missed him so much. Every night, Emily would hug Max's favorite toy, a stuffed bear he loved to play with. She wished with all her heart that he was safe and that he would find his way back to them. The Carters never gave up hope. They kept looking for Max, determined to bring him home. A year passed. Emily still thought about Max every day. One Saturday, her parents took her to a local rescue event at the park. They thought it might cheer her up. There were dogs of all shapes and sizes, hoping to find new homes. Emily petted a few dogs, but none of them felt like Max. Just when they were about to leave, Emily saw him. There in the last kennel was Max. He looked a little thinner and his fur was tangled, but it was him. Emily knew it in her heart. "Max," she cried out, her voice filled with both joy and disbelief. Max's ears perked up at the sound of his name. He turned his head and saw Emily. His tail started to wag so hard that his whole body shook. He barked and barked. He had never forgotten the sound of her voice. Emily rushed over to Max's kennel, tears streaming down her face. She threw her arms around him. Max licked her face, his whimpers of joy echoing Emily's sobs of relief. It was truly a reunion, a year in the making. Max was overjoyed to see his beloved Emily again. Emily's parents couldn't believe their eyes. They rushed to the kennel, tears of happiness filling their eyes. They were a family again. The Carters took Max straight home. He remembered the way. He ran into the house and went straight to his dog bed. It felt like he had never been gone. Emily wouldn't let Max out of her sight. She told him how much she had missed him. She promised never to let him go again. That night, curled up next to Emily, Max finally felt safe and loved. He was home. The Carters had their beloved Max back, and they were never letting him out of their sight again. Max's long journey was finally over. He was home.
A teacher's gut feeling. I'm a 6th grade teacher. I've been doing this job for over a decade, and you learn to spot patterns. But nothing prepares you for the moments that punch you right in the gut. There's this girl in my class. Let's call her Alina. Quiet, polite, never caused trouble. But lately she had this habit of dozing off during lessons. Not once or twice, but every single day. First week I chalked it up to a phase. Kids stay up late, phones, TV, whatever. I gave her a few warnings, gently. Second week I started noticing the dark circles under her eyes. Puffy, swollen lids. She'd rest her head on her arms like gravity itself was too heavy. But what got me was her expression, like she was scared to even exist. Always tense, always flinching at loud noises. Something was off. By week 3, I couldn't ignore it. I kept her after class and gently asked if she was okay. She gave a tight-lipped nod and mumbled something about being tired, but I knew it was more than that. I started to notice more signs. Alina's grades were slipping, and she seemed more withdrawn each day. It was clear something was seriously wrong. I decided it was time to dig deeper and find out what was really going on. So I called in her parents. They came in, both looking uncomfortable. The mother looked defensive right off the bat, and the father wouldn't meet my eyes. I started with, "Alina's been struggling to stay awake in class. I'm worried she's not getting enough rest at home." There was silence, the kind that screams. Then the mum let out this shaky breath. Her voice cracked. We didn't know it was that bad. Turns out they'd been having bitter arguments at home. Loud, frequent, and always at night. Alina's room shared a wall with the living room where they fought. Sometimes they'd yell past midnight. Sometimes they'd just go silent. The kind of silence that fills the house with dread. They assumed she was too young to understand, or asleep. But she heard everything, every insult, every slammed door. She wasn't sleeping, she was enduring. The dad's eyes welled up. The mum just kept repeating, "We didn't know." They both looked ashamed. And honestly, good, they should have been. But I wasn't trying to guilt them. I just wanted them to see the damage. A glimmer of hope began to shine through the darkness. It was subtle at first, barely noticeable, but it was there. They thanked me quietly. A week passed, then 2. Alina stopped falling asleep. The dark circles faded. She even started smiling. Not all the time, but enough to notice. And today, she raised her hand in class, voluntarily, and answered a question with confidence. It was such a small thing, but I swear I almost cried.
I rejected him because he was short, then life taught me the hardest lesson. Let me take you back to when I was 17. I'm Eliza, 5'11", confident volleyball captain, and always surrounded by people. I was used to attention, but I also had standards. One of them, never date a guy shorter than me. Arjun was in my physics class. 5'5", quiet, always reading, always kind. He helped others, smiled easily, and had this calm presence. But I never saw him like that. One afternoon after class, he waited by my locker. "Hey, Eliza, would you want to grab coffee with me sometime?" I blinked, then laughed, not out of cruelty, just pure shock. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Yeah, I think you're really amazing." I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Arjun, you're nice, but I just can't date someone shorter than me. It'd feel weird." He didn't argue, just said, "Okay, I understand," and walked away. That should have been the end of it, but here's where life turned. There was Aiden, 6'3" on the basketball team. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. Except 2 months in, I found out he was messaging 3 other girls behind my back. I cried in the gym bathroom, my crown of confidence crumbling. Then came Jaden. Model tall, charming, said all the right things. We dated for a few weeks until I saw him with another girl in the same cafe where we had our first date. When I confronted him, he shrugged. I never said we were exclusive. And then Marcus. We lasted 3 months, longer than the others. I thought he was different until I got injured and had to sit out the volleyball season. He ghosted me 2 days later. I can't handle drama, he texted. That was it. Each time I kept telling myself I just needed to find the right guy. But with each heartbreak, one face kept reappearing in my mind. Arjun. He was still around, still helping classmates, tutoring kids after school, visiting his grandma every Sunday with handmade cards. Not once had he ever spoken badly of me, not even after I embarrassed him. One evening I ran into him at the library. Hey, I said, nervous. Hey, Eliza. I took a deep breath. I was wondering, maybe we could grab that coffee? He smiled, but there was sadness behind it. I used to want that more than anything. I looked down. I made a mistake. I judged you by inches. Arjun's voice was calm. It wasn't just the height. It was how you saw me. I hope you see people differently now. I do, I whispered. He nodded. Good, you'll be better for it. A year later, he gave a speech at graduation after winning a national science scholarship. He said sometimes being underestimated is the greatest gift. It teaches you to believe in yourself louder than the world doubts you. I clapped from the back row, not because I wanted him to see me, but because I saw him, and I wanted the world to, too.
Sarah believed in dreams, not just hers, but his too. Her husband, Mayan, had dropped out of college, lost in the fog of disappointment. But Sarah didn't walk away. Instead, she rolled up her sleeves and got to work. She supported them both, working late, sacrificing vacations, and even skipping meals just to save for his tuition. She pushed him to finish his degree, stayed up to help him study, and cheered the loudest when he finally graduated. And when he landed his first corporate job, she cried, not because of the success, but because they had made it, together. But success changed Mayan. He got promoted, started wearing expensive suits, and suddenly, Sarah's sacrifices became invisible. Then came Ava, his young, ambitious secretary. She knew exactly how to stroke his ego. Mayan mistook attention for love and traded loyalty for lust. Sarah found out. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She packed her bags, left quietly, and never looked back. No drama, no second chances. Everyone thought Sarah would fall apart without him. Instead, she rose. She went back to school, started her own consulting firm, and within 2 years, she was being featured in magazines for her achievements. She built a life of her own gracefully, powerfully. Mayan? His story didn't end quite the same. Ava left him the moment his bank account stopped growing. Office gossip caught wind of his unprofessional behavior. He lost his job. Reputation shattered. He tried reaching out to Sarah once, just once. She never replied. Because some people are lessons, and some are blessings. Sarah was both.
I bet you didn't know how a simple lesson in empathy could change everything. This is the story of how a husband taught his wife the value of empathy in the most unexpected way. It all started with a seemingly small, everyday situation that many of us might overlook. But sometimes, it's these small moments that hold the greatest lessons. Meet Sarah, a busy professional, and her husband John. Sarah was always caught up in her work, juggling multiple responsibilities and trying to balance her career with her home life. They have a maid, Rosa, who works tirelessly every day. Rosa is the backbone of their household, ensuring everything runs smoothly. But Sarah never really saw Rosa, until one day. Rosa was always there, quietly working in the background, making sure the house was spotless and everything was in order. She was diligent, dedicated, and took pride in her work. But to Sarah, Rosa was just another part of the household machinery, an invisible presence that she rarely acknowledged. That is, until one fateful day when everything changed. Scene kitchen, Sarah angrily talking to Rosa. Sarah, Rosa, you missed a spot here. Can't you be more thorough? Sarah's frustration was evident. She was stressed from work and took it out on Rosa, not realizing the impact of her words. Rosa, softly. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sarah, I'll fix it right away. Rosa's response was meek, her eyes downcast. She was used to such reprimands, but it didn't make them any less hurtful. She quickly went back to work, fixing the mistake with a heavy heart. Scene living room, John talking to Sarah. John, honey, do you ever wonder how hard Rosa works? We should show her some appreciation. John had been observing the situation and felt it was time to intervene. He knew that a little appreciation could go a long way. Scene kitchen, John talking to Rosa. John, Rosa, thank you for everything you do. We're grateful. John's words were simple, but they carried a weight of sincerity that made Rosa's eyes light up with a smile. This small gesture made Rosa smile, but Sarah still didn't understand. She saw John's gesture as a nice thing to do, but she didn't grasp the deeper significance. John decided it was time for a more impactful lesson. He knew that words alone wouldn't be enough to change Sarah's perspective. John pondered over how he could make Sarah truly understand the value of empathy and appreciation. He realized that sometimes the best way to understand someone else's struggles is to walk a mile in their shoes. Scene bedroom, John and Sarah talking. John, Sarah, I want you to switch roles with Rosa for one day. You'll see the effort she puts in. Sarah was taken aback by John's suggestion. It seemed like an unusual request, but she agreed, curious to see what she might learn. Scene Sarah, exhausted, cleaning the house. Sarah took on Rosa's duties, and by the end of the day, she was exhausted. She had never realized how physically demanding and mentally draining the work could be. She finally saw the hard work and dedication Rosa put into her job. Every task, no matter how small, required effort and attention to detail. As Sarah scrubbed floors, washed dishes, and dusted shelves, she began to understand the true value of Rosa's work. It wasn't just about keeping the house clean. It was about creating a comfortable and welcoming environment for the family. Scene kitchen, Sarah talking to Rosa. Sarah, Rosa, I never realized how much you do. Thank you for your hard work. I truly appreciate you. Sarah's words were heartfelt, and for the first time, Rosa felt truly seen and valued. The two women shared a moment of mutual respect and understanding. It was a turning point in their relationship, one that would lead to a deeper bond and greater appreciation for each other's roles. Scene, living room, John and Sarah talking. Sarah, you were right, John. I needed to walk a mile in Rosa's shoes to understand. Empathy really does change everything. Sarah's realization was profound. She had learned a valuable lesson that would stay with her for the rest of her life, and that's how Sarah learned the value of empathy and appreciation. Sometimes all it takes is a change of perspective to see the world through someone else's eyes. It's a lesson we can all learn from, reminding us to appreciate the efforts of those around us and to approach life with a little more kindness and understanding. So the next time you find yourself frustrated or taking someone for granted, remember Sarah's story. Take a moment to step into their shoes and see the world from their perspective. You might be surprised at what you discover.
The Khans were like most families, a little bit crazy, a whole lot of love, and always on the edge of chaos. Their home was a whirlwind of activity, filled with laughter, occasional tears, and endless stories that wove the fabric of their lives. There was Papa Khan, the rock, always patient, always calm. He was the anchor in the storm, the one who could always be counted on to bring a sense of stability and wisdom to the family. Mama Khan, the heart, full of warmth and spice, just like her cooking. Her laughter was the melody that filled their home, and her hugs were the comfort that soothed every hurt. Then came the kids. Anya, the eldest at 17, was a whirlwind of dreams and determination. She was always on the move, chasing her ambitions with a fierce passion that inspired everyone around her. Zishan, 14, lived in his headphones, lost in the world of music. His tunes were his escape, his way of navigating the complexities of teenage life, and his creativity often brought a unique rhythm to the household. And little Maya, the baby at 9, brightened their days with her sunshine smile and infectious laughter. Her innocence and joy were the glue that held the family together, reminding them of the simple pleasures in life. They were a family portrait of clashing personalities and quiet understanding, a symphony of chaos and love, held together by the invisible strings of shared history and unwavering affection. Each member brought their own unique color to the canvas of their lives. Life with the Khans was never dull, always an adventure. Whether they were exploring new places, trying out new activities, or simply enjoying each other's company, every day was a new chapter in their story. And in their messy, chaotic way, they wouldn't have it any other way. The Khans embraced the beautiful mess of their lives, finding joy in the chaos and love, in the little moments that made their family truly special. The Khan household was a symphony of chaos every morning. The alarm clock blared.
Rise and shine, everyone!
Papa Khan's deep voice echoed, urging everyone to rise and shine. Mama Khan bustled in the kitchen, the aroma of parathas filling the air. Anya rushed, always running late. Zishan, lost in his music, stumbled around like a sleepy bear. Maya, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, was the only one who seemed to embrace the morning.
Anya, your college applications.
I know, Mama.
Anya mumbled, grabbing a piece of toast. Secrets were spilled as easily as the milk Zishan accidentally knocked over. Dreams were shared between bites of cereal. And amidst the chaos, the Khan family muddled through another morning. The day was young, and the Khan family was just getting started.
I'm not going to college.
The words hung in the air. A bombshell dropped in the middle of their usual Friday night takeout dinner. Anya's announcement was met with stunned silence. Forks clattered onto plates. Zishan's headphones slipped, his jaw dropping.
What do you mean, Beta?
Papa Khan finally asked, his voice a mixture of confusion and concern. Anya, always the independent one, had decided to pursue her passion for photography. She'd gotten an apprenticeship with a renowned photographer, a dream opportunity. But it meant putting college on hold, a decision that sent shockwaves through the family.
This is my dream, Papa.
Anya pleaded, her eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. The Khan family was at a crossroads. Their usual Friday night dinner transformed into a battleground of dreams versus expectations. While Anya's announcement sent shockwaves through the family, a different kind of drama was unfolding between Zishan and Maya. Zishan, lost in his world of music, was preparing for his first band audition. Maya, never one to be left out, saw this as her chance to showcase her amazing dance moves, much to Zishan's horror.
Maya, get out of my room.
But bye, I'm the dancer you need.
Maya protested, her pigtails bouncing as she attempted a pirouette. Their usual playful banter escalated into a full-blown battle of wills. Their shared bedroom transformed into a war zone of flying pillows and loud accusations. The battle of the bands had officially spilled over into a battle of the bedrooms.
We need to talk.
Mama Khan's voice was firm. This was not a normal family meeting. Family meetings were rare, usually for big problems like a broken vase or a lost dog. But today was different. This time, it was about their future. Everyone felt the importance.
My choice has made everyone think. It's not just about me now.
Anya's choice made everyone question their own dreams. It was a big moment for the family.
Why can't things stay the same? Change is hard.
Yeah, it's not fair. We were happy before.
Zishan and Maya argued. There were tears and harsh words. The room was full of anger and sadness. But through the chaos, there was honesty. It brought them closer.
Remember, family means supporting each other's dreams, even if it means change. It's about love and understanding.
The future might be uncertain, but they would face it together, as a family. United in love, they could overcome any challenge. The days that followed the family meeting were filled with a quiet tension. Anya, still reeling from her parents' initial reaction, withdrew into herself. Zishan, sensing the shift in the family dynamic, retreated further into his music. But families, like mended hearts, have a way of healing.
It started with a small gesture. A cup of chai made just the way Anya liked it. A knock on Zishan's door followed by a rare smile.
Slowly, the walls they had built around themselves began to crumble. Forgiveness, like a warm embrace, enveloped them, reminding them that family wasn't about being perfect, but about loving each other through the imperfections. The Khans were rebuilding, stronger at the broken places, their bonds forged in the fires of conflict and tempered by the love that held them together. Friday night rolled around again. The usual takeout order was replaced with Mama Khan's special biryani, the aroma filling the house with a sense of normalcy. But this Friday was different.
Instead of retreating to our separate corners of the house, we found ourselves gathered in the living room.
A power outage, a common occurrence in their neighborhood, had plunged them into darkness. But in the darkness, they found light. Candles were lit, board games were unearthed, and laughter filled the air.
We told stories, shared secrets, and reconnected in a way we hadn't in a long time.
The power outage, a minor inconvenience, had become an unexpected blessing, reminding them of the simple joys of being a family. The weekend continued with a newfound spirit of togetherness. Zishan's band audition was fast approaching, and what started as a way to lighten the mood turned into an impromptu Khan family karaoke night.
The living room transformed into a stage. Hairbrush microphones were brandished with gusto.
Zishan, usually shy and reserved, surprised everyone with his hidden talent. Anya, her voice surprisingly melodic, found herself singing along with her younger brother. Even Mama and Papa Khan joined in, their off-key singing adding to the merriment.
In that moment, surrounded by laughter and off-key singing, we weren't just a family. We were a band of misfits, each playing our own tune, yet harmonizing beautifully.
The music might have been off-key, but the love was pitch perfect. As the weekend drew to a close, the Khan household began to settle into a serene calm. The storm of the past few days had finally passed, leaving behind a trail of understanding and a renewed sense of unity. The family had weathered the challenges together, and in doing so, they had grown closer. Each member of the Khan family felt a deeper connection and a renewed sense of unity. Anya, armed with our family's support,
Was ready to chase her photography dreams. She felt a newfound confidence, knowing her family was behind her every step of the way. Zishan, his confidence boosted by our encouragement,
Was prepared to face his band audition. He strummed his guitar with a sense of purpose, knowing that his family believed in him. And Maya, the ever-present ray of sunshine,
basked in the warmth of her family's love. Her laughter filled the room, a reminder of the joy that family brings. As the day gave way to night, the family found themselves gathered in the living room once more. They shared stories, laughter, and a few tears, reflecting on the events of the weekend. Exhaustion, both physical and emotional, hung heavy in the air. One by one, we drifted off to sleep, a tangle of limbs and contented sighs. The living room, once a place of conflict, had become a sanctuary of peace. United they stood, divided they fell asleep, a testament to the chaotic,
Heartwarming and ultimately unbreakable bond of the Khan family. In the end, it was their love and unity that saw them through, and as they slept, they dreamt of the future, knowing that together they could face anything.
United they stood, divided they fell asleep, a testament to the chaotic, heartwarming, and ultimately unbreakable bond of the Khan family.
Twelve-year-old Sophie sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the red stain on her bedsheet. Her heart pounded. She had read about this in school, heard her friends whisper about it, but now that it had happened to her, she felt lost. Her mother had passed away 2 years ago, leaving Sophie and her father alone in their quiet home. The loving father always making sure she had everything she needed, but this was different.
she couldn't talk to him about it. He wouldn't understand.
All day she moved around nervously, avoiding eye contact with her father. She wrapped a jacket around her waist, walked carefully, and made sure not to sit for too long. She hoped he wouldn't notice. But he did.
Sophie, is something bothering you?
No, Dad, I'm fine.
You know, when your mother was here, she always told me that one day you'd need me to step up in ways I never imagined. I may not know everything, but I do know that growing up comes with changes. And some of those changes might be scary or uncomfortable to talk about, like your first period.
Embarrassed.
It's completely natural, sweetheart. Every girl goes through it. Your mother would have been here to help you, but since she's not, I want you to know that you can talk to me about anything.
I don't know what to do.
I asked one of my colleagues at work for advice. She helped me pick these up for you.
You are strong. You are not alone.
Thank you, Dad.
That night, as she lay in bed, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Comfort. She wasn't alone. Her mother might be gone, but her father was there, learning, growing, and standing beside her every step of the way.
I knew I had failed the moment I handed in my paper. Not because I didn't know the answers, not because I hadn't studied, but because in my school, being an athlete meant you weren't taken seriously. I was the school's star football player. Our team had just won the state championship, and everyone assumed that was all I cared about. Teachers overlooked me in class. My classmates whispered about how I'd probably get a free pass just for being on the team. But here's the truth. I studied. I spent late nights with my textbooks, my eyes burning from exhaustion after practice. I knew this exam mattered, and I wasn't about to let football define me. When the results came in, I failed. Not just barely, I completely bombed. But something felt off. I went to my teacher's office, my heart pounding. "I don't understand," I said. "I studied for this." She barely looked up. "Maybe if you spent less time on the field, you'd have passed." I felt my stomach drop, so I asked to see my paper. At first, she refused. Then, after enough pushing, she sighed and handed it over. I flipped through it, my breath catching in my throat. Red marks slashed through correct answers. Entire sections were left ungraded. It wasn't just a bad score, it was deliberate. I looked at her. "You failed me on purpose." She didn't deny it. "You need to understand that in the real world, football won't always save you." I clenched my fists, and neither will sabotaging students who don't fit your idea of smart. I took my paper straight to the principal. An investigation was launched. Turns out I wasn't the only one. She had been marking down athletes for years, believing they needed a wake-up call. She was fired. My grade was corrected, but the damage was already done. Because in that moment, I realized some people will see you as a stereotype no matter how hard you work to prove them wrong.
Mama smelled like lavender. It was a scent that filled our home, wrapping us in a blanket of calm and comfort. Hers was soft, like a summer breeze through a field. It made you feel safe and loved. I remember her warmth, how she'd hold me tight. Her hugs were like a shield against the world. Her voice, a lullaby, would chase away the shadows. Then she was gone. The nights grew longer and colder without her. The lavender scent faded, leaving a space as empty as the rocking chair in the corner. The Miller's house smelled of cinnamon and freshly baked bread. The aroma would greet you even before you stepped inside, wrapping you in a warm embrace. Mama Miller, with her kind eyes and wide smile, welcomed me into their home. Her hugs were like a soft quilt, enveloping me in a sense of belonging. She didn't smell like lavender, but like warm cookies and bedtime stories. Her presence was a soothing balm. Papa Miller, big and strong, would swing me high in the air, his laughter booming like thunder. His strength made me feel safe. Their love was a warm blanket on a cold night. It was the kind of love that made you feel secure. Years passed, filled with school plays and birthday parties. Laughter echoed through the halls, and joy was a constant companion. The Millers became my family. They embraced me with open arms and hearts, filling the void with love and warmth. Yet I never stopped wondering about my mother. Where was she? What had become of her? Did she think about me? Did she miss me as much as I missed her? Did she miss me like I missed her? These questions haunted my thoughts day and night. I held onto a sliver of hope, a tiny flame that refused to be extinguished. It was my guiding light. Sometimes I would imagine her face, trying to remember the details. Her smile, her touch, her eyes, were they like mine? Did they hold the same spark of curiosity? Her laugh, did it sound like mine? Was it filled with the same joy and innocence? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswered, a constant echo in the quiet moments. They were my silent companions. I knew I had to find out, to understand the why and the how of it all. The journey to uncover the truth had just begun. She stood on the porch, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. Her hair, darker than I remembered, framed a face etched with time and hardship. But her eyes, those were the same, filled with a love that transcended years of absence. The lavender scent, fainter now, clung to her like a forgotten memory. My heart pounded in my chest, a wild drum against my ribs. 1,000 emotions washed over me: joy, confusion, fear, longing. Could I forgive her? Could I let go of the past and embrace this woman, this stranger who was my mother? I took a deep breath, then I reached out, toward her, toward my past. But I also turned back, squeezing Mrs. Carter's hand. "I have 2 mothers now," I said, "and I'm not losing either of them." Tears fell, and for the first time in years, I felt whole.
Ember and Oak wasn't just a restaurant, it was Leon's heart and soul. He poured his life into it, from the carefully curated wine list to the hand-stitched leather on the menus. But the heart of Ember and Oak was its unwavering commitment to quality. Leon believed in simple, honest food, crafted with the finest ingredients. No shortcuts, no compromises. He personally visited local farms, sourcing the freshest produce. He knew his suppliers by name, their families, and their stories. He only used free-range poultry and sustainably sourced seafood. Every dish that left his kitchen was a testament to his dedication to quality. It was this ethos that had earned Ember and Oak its loyal following. Customers came for the melt-in-your-mouth braised short ribs, slow-cooked for 12 hours. They raved about the pan-seared scallops, perfectly caramelized and bursting with flavor. And they always saved room for Leon's signature dessert, a warm apple crumble made with his grandmother's recipe, served with a scoop of homemade vanilla bean ice cream. Then the Sizzle Spot arrived. It landed across the street with a bang-all neon lights, blaring music, and the enticing aroma of cheap, processed food. The Sizzle Spot was everything Ember and Oak wasn't: loud, brash, and artificial. Their menu was a greasy spoon dream burgers piled high with processed cheese, fries drowning in artificial flavoring, and milkshakes that were more syrup than ice cream. Their marketing was relentless. Flyers plastered on every lamppost, social media campaigns boasting unbelievable deals, and a giant inflatable burger beckoning passers-by. The Sizzle Spot was an assault on the senses, a carnival of hype that was hard to ignore, and people were flocking to it in droves. The initial curiosity was understandable. People were drawn to the novelty, the promise of a cheap and cheerful meal. People were drawn to the novelty, the promise of a cheap and cheerful meal. But for Leon, it was a punch to the gut. He saw his regular customers lured away by the siren song of cheap prices and flashy promotions. He watched as his carefully crafted menu, a labor of love, was overshadowed by mountains of greasy burgers and sugary drinks. The success of the Sizzle Spot, albeit superficial, was undeniable. It was a stark reminder that in the age of instant gratification and social media frenzy, quality often took a backseat to hype. And for the first time since he opened Ember and Oak, Leon felt a knot of doubt tighten in his chest. The impact on Ember and Oak was immediate and brutal. The once bustling restaurant was now eerily sat empty, the white linen tablecloth stark against the dark wood. The silence was broken only by the clinking of silverware and the hushed conversations of the few remaining patrons. Leon watched the weight of his staff's livelihoods heavy on his shoulders. "We need to do something, Leon," his manager, a pragmatic woman named Sarah, would say, her brow furrowed with concern. "We're bleeding the cheap thrills across the street, and we can't compete with their prices." She suggested introducing budget-friendly items, maybe even a value menu to rival the Sizzle Spot's offerings. His stomach twisting with each suggestion. He understood the predicament, the need to adapt and survive, but the thought of compromising on his principles of sacrificing quality for profit left a bitter taste in his mouth. Not just to himself and his values, but to the legacy he was trying to build. The financial strain was undeniable. Bills piled up, suppliers needed to be paid, and the once comfortable cushion. Each passing day, the stress was taking its toll. Leon, normally a picture of calm and composure in his kitchen, found himself snapping at his staff, his usual passion replaced by a quiet desperation. He knew and a way to weather the storm without sacrificing the soul of Ember and Oak. One slow Tuesday evening, a familiar face walked into Ember and Oak. Mr. Holloway, an elderly gentleman and a long-time regular, settled into his usual corner table. He was a creature of habit, always ordering the pan-seared salmon with a side of asparagus and a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. Mr. Holloway was more than just a customer. He was a friend, a confidant who had seen Leon through the ups and downs of running a restaurant. "You seem troubled, Leon," Mr. Holloway observed, his eyes sharp and knowing. Leon hesitated, then poured his heart out. The despair of watching his dream crumble, the pressure to compromise, the fear of losing everything he had worked so hard to build. Mr. Holloway listened patiently, then spoke, his voice soft but firm. "This restaurant," he began, gesturing around the dimly lit space, "it's a reflection of you, Leon. Your passion, your integrity, your unwavering commitment to quality. People like me, we come here not just for the food, but for the experience, for the feeling of being transported to a place where time slows down and every bite is a celebration." Mr. Holloway's words were a lifeline, a much-needed reminder of why Leon had started Ember and Oak in the first place. It wasn't about chasing trends or competing with flashy gimmicks. It was about staying true to his vision, to the timeless appeal of quality and authenticity. Mr. Holloway's visit was a turning point, a beacon of hope in the midst of Leon's despair. It was the push he needed to stop doubting himself, to remember the power of his passion, and to fight for the soul of Ember and Oak.
Liana had always loved dance. Whenever music played, she felt an unexplainable energy in her soul, a rhythm in her heart that told her she belonged on the stage. But the world didn't see her that way. Her dream of becoming a dancer was shattered the moment she walked into the most elite dance studio in town. She was heavy, curvy, and larger than most dancers in the room, and the trainer noticed. Dancing isn't for everyone. It requires agility, flexibility, and, well, a certain body type. The smirks from the other students burned into her skin. Humiliated, Liana walked out, her dreams crushed under the weight of their laughter. But something deep inside her refused to give up. That night, she locked herself in her room, opened YouTube, and typed beginner dance tutorials. She practiced alone, her heavy body stumbling, struggling to keep up, her breath running short. She sweated, fell, but never stopped. She trained harder than anyone because she had more to prove. Months later, the city announced an inter-school dance competition. It was her chance. A chance to prove that passion wasn't measured by size. She signed up as a solo performer. On the day of the event, her heart pounded in her chest as she stepped onto the grand stage. Then, the music started. Liana let go of everything, her fears, her self-doubt, the cruel words. She danced like she had never danced before. Her heavy body moved with unexpected grace, each step powerful, fluid, and commanding. She proved that dance wasn't about looking a certain way. It was about feeling it, living it. When she finished, the hall erupted in applause. She had done it. She had become a dancer. As she walked off stage, she saw the trainer approaching her. Trainer. Liana, that was incredible. We need one more dancer for the group performance tomorrow. One of our team members was injured in an accident on the way here. Would you consider joining us? Liana clenched her fists. After everything, he wanted her now? No, thank you, she said firmly, turning to leave. But then, her mother's words echoed in her mind. We should help others at the time when they need. Only then will God send angels in our hard times. She closed her eyes. She had fought for a place in the dance world. If she truly loved it, wasn't it about more than just proving people wrong? Taking a deep breath, she turned back. I'll do it, Liana thought to herself with a determined look on her face. That night, Liana stood in front of the mirror, exhausted but determined. She had just one night to learn the entire group choreography. She watched the recorded steps over and over, mimicking each movement, her muscles burning with fatigue. She stumbled, repeated, adjusted, and pushed her body beyond its limits. Hours passed, and by dawn, Liana knew the routine. She had trained for this moment her whole life. She wasn't going to let herself fail. The next day, Liana stood with the same team that had once laughed at her. But now, she wasn't just the fat girl who tried to dance. She was the girl who had taught herself to fly. And when they danced together, she wasn't just following their moves. She was leading them. Because true dancers aren't defined by their size, but by the fire in their soul.
I never thought my life would become the plot of a dramatic TV series, but there I was, standing dumbfounded in the middle of downtown, staring at a digital billboard that was all too familiar. It was our secret. My lover and I had been meeting in the dead of night, slipping away from our respective lives for stolen moments of passion. We were careful, or so I thought. Our messages, once locked away in the privacy of our phones, now blared out in vibrant neon for the entire city to see. The shock hit me like a cold wave, and I felt the ground sway beneath my feet as I realized the depth of our exposure. The messages weren't just simple exchanges. They were confessions of love, admissions of guilt, and plans for future escapades. Each word was a dagger, slicing open the carefully constructed life I had built. I could feel eyes boring into me, strangers piecing together the puzzle of my betrayal as I stood frozen in the spotlight of my own making. It was a grotesque display of our intimacy, turned into public spectacle. I rushed away, the shame burning my cheeks, only to collide with a person who had once shared those whispered secrets with me. The confrontation was as explosive as the revelation. Accusations flew like arrows, each one landing with precision. My mind raced, trying to figure out how it had all gone so catastrophically wrong. My lover's eyes, once filled with warmth, now blazed with anger and hurt. It was then that the truth emerged. Our digital trail had been uncovered by someone who knew us both too well, someone with a score to settle. The betrayal wasn't just external, it had been seeded from within our own circle. In the aftermath, as I sifted through the wreckage of our relationship, a deeper conflict gnawed at me. The allure of our midnight meetings had always been about more than just the thrill of the forbidden. It was an escape from the confines of my own life, a rebellion against the mundane. I realized the billboard was a symbol, not just of our reckless passion, but of my own internal struggle, a desperate cry for something more, something real. And as I stood there amidst the ruins, I understood that the greatest betrayal had been my own, a denial of the truth I had been too afraid to face. Linda had never imagined that the man she loved with all her